Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Hey there, everybody, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards, get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. Speaking of friends, I'm with two of my good friends, Willie Walls and the great Swame, Odell Blocker. We're getting ready for week number 2 of DFS. Guys, I hit Shaheed last week. That was one that we hit, but it felt like it was a strange week. Things didn't necessarily go as planned. The Bengals stunk. A lot of teams stunk. But this week, I feel like it could explode a little bit. Why do I feel like you're going to need like 270 points to win on DK?
Not this week, Doc. I think we were okay. Some of us guessed that the Bengals would stink, didn't we, Walls? We knew, just based on the last 5 games, that Cleveland were going to hold them down. We guessed right on the Poo Nakuas and the Tutu Atwells and the Ayuks. So it was a very interesting week last week, Doc. We were flirting with 200 points on DK, and so we're looking to follow up this week.
All right, what about you last week?
Luka was my guy, the guy for the Rams. You know, that's why I mentioned him. I said this dude could play.
We had Tyreek Hill locked in.
Yeah,
we had Aaron Jones locked in. So quite a few plays. I told Walls about Mr. Tua, and
we talked about that. When you've got Waddle and Tua and Hill, you almost have to put a lineup with those guys in every week. I don't see any way that you don't.
Yeah, but I mean, Waddle was kind of he was waddling. it was Hill. I didn't play him. I played Hill.
I just locked Hill. I had 0 Waddle. I had Hill locked in.
All right, let's head to this week. There's a bunch of guys I like, guys. There's quarterbacks galore. I think I can name you 6 or 7. I got my secret sheet right over here. Let's just kick it off with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs against the Jaguars. It's the highest scoring game of the week according to Las Vegas. Kelsey's back. Mahomes is, let's say he's back considering after last week's nightmare. Do we love this game? Do we need to have a piece of this game? Because it's going to cost you a ton. Willie, what are you thinking? Tell me something, Willie. You're just sitting there. Tell me something.
Hey, listen. All right, listen. I'm going to be honest with you because I don't know how healthy Kelsey is, right? Mahomes threw to like 29 different people, right? I mean, I was Sky Moore, man, Sky ass. I mean, you don't know. To me, he's a play. I agree, Mahomes is the man, but for me, for stacking partners, I'm not playing that eeny, meeny, miny, mo game. Okay. Mahomes is going to have to beat me. He's got to beat me because I know Mahomes, because I'm not going to play him naked. I know he's going to bring somebody in, but I don't know who. I mean, the guy that had the big game last year was Pacheco. The last game, if you remember the playoff games, he had 28 touches for 170-something yards. I don't think that's going to happen again, but what was good last week that happened was he had like 5, pass targets, So, but I'm going to be honest with you, Doc. I cannot and I see you saying about Tony. I get it. He was over, but hell no.
I like Tony too this week. I like Tony too. I think Tony's really sneaky and nobody wants to play him.
He is sneaky, but he's going to have to sneak by me. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's got to sneak by me. I mean, if anybody's going to come and do something this week, I think it will be Sky Moore coming back because Kelsey will open things up. But the partners for me for Kansas City, I'm more interested on the other side than the Kansas City side.
So who are you interested on the Jaguars? You like Ridley? You like Kirk? You like Zay Jones?
I think Lawrence and Ridley is a good combination. I mean, I like those two. I mean, but this is not the game that I will be all in on this game. I like a couple other games better than this game.
All right, Swami, what do you think? If you had a 3 max entry, is one of your stacks going to be a Mahomes stack, or are you going to pass on this one too?
Is a quick short no. Not sure why Willie has so much heartburn, why he needed the pink stuff or the Mylanta. Short, quick no. I think he got to it eventually, and it just comes down to I'm not playing the guessing game until they figure it out. You don't know who's going to catch the ball. You don't know who wants to catch the ball. You're just hoping Mr. Kelsey getting there to do something. Are you ready to trust him right away at that price? I don't think so. It would be a leverage play. It would be a GPP, but you can have it. And if you can stomach trying to figure out who he's going to go for it. As far as on the other side, Doc, everybody's interested in Mr. Ridley after last week, the number of targets, the catches. Him and Lawrence seem to click right away. I think I would be interested in the fly as well on Kirk. But other than that, I think I would probably just, if I took a piece, it would be Ridley, and I would probably back away from the rest of them.
I think JS is onto something. If I were going to play a Jaguar, I would play Kirk this week. I think that sometimes in week 2, it's overreaction. Oh my God, Kirk stinks. Kirk has always done well against Kansas City's, but he's 5,100. It's not like you're getting him for free. After last week, I love him at 4,400, not 5,100. For 51, I might be able to go elsewhere. So I'm not so sure. All right, let's get to a game that I think Willie might like. It's the Buffalo Bills against the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's just talk about pieces galore. You got Allen. You got Diggs. You got Gabe Davis. And when Gabe Davis goes off, it's because Allen and Diggs goes off because the whole Bills team goes off. You got Kincaid, who didn't do great against the Jets, but the Jets are a tough defense. On the Raiders, you've got really 3 guys. You've got Devontae Adams, you've got Josh Jacobs, and you have Hunter Renfrow because Jacoby Myers is out. Swami, can you get behind this game at all?
I'm interested in this game. I feel like the Jets had a few plays that make you think that Jacobs can maybe get it going against the Bills as far as running the ball. The kind of success that you saw that Brees was able to have, you like, can Jacobs kind of mimic that, do something? So you're interested in that. The only concern here is if the Raiders don't bring it and the Bills are rolling, then is he now out of the game as it looks different from that perspective? You got to like the whole Bills offense. You think they're going to not only kind of, bounce back from last week, but then have a breakout. I don't think they're going to have the turnovers. I think they're going to get the ball in the end zone. But it's just figuring out what the Raiders is going to do. And if you can figure that out, and if you can figure out which piece of that you want, then I think you got something as far as a stack.
Willie, what are you thinking of this game? I know you like it.
Yeah, I do. I'm more interested in Josh Jacobs. The thing that I was encouraged about it in the last contest, he had 22 carries, and he was out for a while. He had 22 touches, and you saw – listen, I think everybody saw the kind of holes in the Buffalo's run defense. You saw Brees Hall. So I think Jacobs is interesting, and I'm gonna be more on. I think this could be a Gabe Davis week. Everything I know. Listen, we all know who the best receiver is, but Gabe is a people that nobody want to touch. He had 2 catches last week in a tough matchup. We knew that wasn't a matchup for him. But this team right here, what they do is they play mostly zone. Gabe, instead of averaging 0.72 per attempt, is like 0.181 per route run against them.
So will you double stack it with Diggs, or will you just single stack it with Gabe Davis and Allen?
I think you can do it both ways. And I don't mind playing a little James Cook because I think James Cook showed me something, last week, and I think. I don't mind doing a James Cook. I don't mind James Cook, playing in this game. I just think that it's an interesting matchup. I think Renfrow will be a very interesting guy that people are not thinking about. But I think this game I like a lot better than because we know. See, the thing that's great for us here is we know that where the targets are going. You know what I mean? We know it's going to Diggs, and we know Gabe is a boom bust guy, but I like the boom in this game. So I think, we know where it's going. Unlike, Mahomes is the greatest quarterback, but hell, I don't know where you're going to throw the ball to. I'm just not playing that guessing game. But so this game, and Devontae Adams is a very interesting too. So I think this game has Huh?
He's
I
a
just think this
definite
game,
start.
yeah, I think this game has more bite to it. So I've definitely got some interest in this game.
Can you play both Jacobs and Adams, considering those are like two of the three guys that the Raiders will use? Can we do, let's say, Allen, Davis, Jacobs, and Adams? Can we play those guys together?
You could, but that's a lot of money you're using up on this one. I mean, this is when you do this, you're doing a full game stack and you hope everything just goes off. But I mean, but that's that's a little too rich for me doing that, because I think you're paying too much. We want to, play something like that for a lower value stack and things like that, and then get pieces of the game. But that's what I think.
All right, let's get to the Chargers against the Titans. First of all, I believe that DeAndre Hopkins is playing. He's doing his usual DeAndre Hopkins thing where he's very questionable and magically he shows up. So that's what I'm telling you. I don't think Eckler plays. But you've got Justin Herbert throwing a Keenan Allen. You've got Mike Williams. You've got Josh Kelly, who's at $5,000, who is getting steamed up as we speak. I think he's probably going to be close to 20% when it's over. But remember, the Titans have a really good run defense. On the other side, you got King Henry, who is ready to bust out. They did not use him last week. You've got Hopkins. You've got Treylon Burks. You've got Chigakonkwo. And I can make an argument, Swami, that Tannehill's the cheapest starter on this for $5K. Could he get you 4X? He might just be able to, Swami. What's your thoughts on this game?
The riverboat gambler in me would say, sure, Doc, why not? But the person that watched football last week and watched film this week would say, not just no, Doc, but hell no. He missed guys wide open. He left so many plays on the field. I don't know if he trusts him right now. King Henry, you already know he's always a play. I don't even like the fact that D-Hop is showing up on the injury report right now. I don't like that at all. If I was to pick another piece, and then again, even still 10 balls for 2 yards, that just isn't exciting right now. Maybe you could talk me into playing somebody else, but right now it's King Henry on one side. And if you ask me about the other side, with Eckler being likely out, that brings in, Kelly from a value perspective. And then everybody else, they probably got about their usual number. But if you don't see this being back and forth, and when you talk about Tennessee, they slowing the game down, the pace not going to be there. It's just not enough to pay up for those receivers. But you could talk me into maybe taking a piece. But the most attractive one from a price perspective would be Kelly and then maybe Parham. But other than that, no thank you.
Willie, swam me off there because I think Mike Williams is due. And the Titans are a bad secondary and they're slow. I mean, Keenan Allen, if you don't have Eckler, maybe he's going to be the target machine there. Is Swami talking out of both sides of his neck? I mean, I'm just asking this question.
You know what? Yeah, I think Mr. Tyrone Jr. is talking out of the side of his neck, because I really think, first of all, we saw it last week against the Saints. This is a pass from you throwing these dudes. I'm gonna tell you, the guy that I like the least is Kelly. I see his ownership. His ownership is up there. He's the guy I like the least out of all the people. Give me all of Mike Williams. This is a Mike. See, just like with Gabe Davis, this is a Mike Williams game. The type of defense they play is what Mike Williams excels in. I like him better than Keenan Allen in this game. I like Mike Williams, and he's a lot less expensive. So and he had a bad game, and everybody saw that he had this 40 yards and 3 catches or something like that. This is a Mike Williams game, and I'm thinking for me, I'm gonna have a little bit of Kelly this, but I don't like him because Tennessee gives up 3.4 yards per carry last year, and the number one back last year, if they had him, was 60-something yards. That's not good probability for me, especially when he's high owned. So, no thank you to Mr. Kelly, but I do like Herbert, and I like his receivers. You could double stack that, I think. I think that makes sense to double stack it, but no way in hell that I'm going to that this Kelly guy is going to be a guy that's in every one of my lineups that people are talking about. He's going to be one of those guys that I'm going to have. He'll have to beat me. Even I understand he's a player, but that Tennessee defense, man, they ball against that run. You got to throw the ball. Wideouts kill him.
I'm completely fading Kelly, 100%, as Willie would say. If he's going to beat me, let him beat me. But I think it's interesting, guys. We mentioned Gabe Davis. We mentioned Mike Williams, 2 number 2 receivers who are capable of giving you wide receiver 1 points. That feels like what you might need here this week. So let's get to another game where we have a wide receiver 2, Swami, that I'm really kind of loving. You've got the Bengals against your Ravens. So let's start with that. The Ravens have 2 injuries on their offensive line. They've got 2 injuries on their defense. Joe Burrow played like poo-poo on a stick, but you got Burrow, you got Mixon, you got Chase, you got wide receiver 2 T. Higgins. Is this the breakout game for the Bengals against your Ravens? And if you like the Ravens at all, is it Zay Flowers? Is it Beckham? Is it Andrews? Is it Justice Hill? What are you doing here?
See, this is another game, right, where you talk about a division game, but I'm interested in it. Sometimes these division games, they become scrappy, especially when we talk about the AFC North. But I can get behind this game. Chase has done well in these division games. The Ravens don't have Humphreys. They're a little bit banged up, and they look like Pew could chew on offense last week. Too many turnovers. This new offense, this new look that everybody's raving about, pun intended, I didn't see it. If you put on film to me, it looked like Ravens from 22 and Ravens from 21 and Ravens from 20. And I'm talking about where they had those moments where the offense just couldn't get out their own way and just looked like they were stuck in the mud. No difference here, but you got to like Zay Jones at this price. You got to be interested in Beckham at that price. You think Chase is going to bounce back, but again, their prices give me a little bit concerned because this is a division game. Higgins, everybody going to be talking about him, especially Walls, and bounce back because it's week 2, because somebody had a bad week. Sometimes just like we chased a good week, we then chase bad weeks too and think that just because Mike Williams didn't have a bad week, he didn't have 4 or 5 drops. He just wasn't involved. That's totally different. Like Everett. Everett ain't have a bunch of drops. He just wasn't involved. They went to Parham. And when people aren't involved and they have a poo-poo week, it's just because they are D-O-O-D-O-O, not because the pendulum's going to swing and they're going to have a great week. Well, let's let Tyrone tell us how all of a sudden, because Higgins was trash, how this week he's going to come back and he's going to be Jerry Rice reincarnated. Go on, Tyrone.
Let me say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
I think Swami may be missing the boat here. This is a team that Burrow didn't play 1 minute in the preseason. They were totally out of sync. And this game could explode. I mean, this is a game, sure, it could be, 21-17, but what if I told you this game was 44-37?
I think both offenses are playing so bad that I would like for something like that to happen, but they just don't get out their own way. When they get off to these slow starts and they're stuck in the mud, talking about my Ravens, but the Bengals, you saw it last week. These teams look like they needed preseason. They look like they needed reps, and they ain't have it. And now we can't just pretend after 1 week of bad football that they're going to get it together. They got to show us, and they haven't done that yet.
Okay, who is Zay Jones, by the way? He plays for Jacksonville, sir. That's your
Zay Flowers. You knew.
Okay, I just
please let me give flowers to Mr. Zay Flowers.
Don't be disrespectful to him. But anyway, let me say this. I'm gonna be honest with you. Last 3 games against the Ravens: one for 33 yards, 7 for 50, 8, 86, and 1 and 12 targets. That's not a takedown for me, for Chase. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, Burrow has not had great stats against the Ravens the last 3 games, and that's when the Ravens were playing with their B players, if you remember, last year. So I'm gonna be honest with you, unlike you thinking you know what I was gonna say, I'm not really interested in a lot of stuff in this game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not interested in a lot of stuff in this game. So for me, and it's a divisional game, and I think the Ravens do. I mean, for some reason, they played good against Cincinnati. So I'm not going with the Cincinnati offense. I don't understand Higgins. If you got him for season long, yes, you play Higgins. You know, he's worth the play. But for me, for DFS, no thank you.
But Willie, you got 4 big injuries for the Ravens. 4. Ronnie Staley is out. You've got Linderbaum, the center, is out. I think Cincinnati's defense might be in play. Humphrey is out. I mean, this is a team that is really slightly decimated. J.K. Dobbins is out. I mean, are you telling me you don't think Cincinnati could actually be better this week?
I don't say they're going to be better, but I don't think they're going to be slate taken down better.
Yeah,
I don't see that
question because they can be better because they couldn't be any worse, right? And the Ravens, they're still a good football team. I don't know if you want to target that team. Them turning the ball over like that was uncharacteristic. This week, I think they'll show up the turnovers. Even if they don't put up a lot of points, it won't be a great fantasy play to play defense against.
Especially at the prices where they are. I mean, I'm just
that's true. You're not getting them on the cheap. That's true. You're not getting them on the cheap.
If there was a different in rate, but not, man. Hey, listen, I'm gonna let everybody else chase that. They can have it. This is one of those that's a tough game to me, man. So,
all right, let's go to a game that won people a lot of money last year. It was Seattle and Detroit. They're bringing this game back. I mean, it feels like there should be fireworks there. It feels like this game should be. You've got Goff. You've got Geno, who was terrible last week. You've got Metcalf. You've got Lockett. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got Montgomery. They're talking about giving Gibbs more opportunities, even though you're going to pay a lot of money for him. Swame, is this a game you want a piece of?
This is the game. Don't blink. This is the game we're expecting to have points in. Defense is not playing well. Offenses can get it going in a hurry. This is the kind of game you want to target. The prices are decent. I think the most expensive guy on the board might be St. Brown. That means everybody else is going to probably come in at a good number, especially the running backs. They got excellent numbers on them where you can absolutely win. Any one of these tight ends in this game could score a touchdown, maybe 2. You got the quarterbacks looking like they're going to go for 3 touchdowns each. You can pick your poison, full stack either the game or team and come back with somebody else. This is the game. It is not those other ones we just talked about. They might barely have 2 touchdowns.
So which way are you going? Are you going Seattle? Are you going Denver? How are you stacking this game? Because Goff plays much better at home than he does on the road. Much.
I like the way Goff look, but I feel like a lot of people could be down on Geno as well. But if you ask who I would take, if you made me take one, I would take Goff at home.
So let me just give me an idea of what you're doing. Goff, St. Brown, what else is looking at?
Goff, St. Brown, Reynolds, come back with Metcalf.
All right, Willie, agree or disagree with this?
I mean, I agree that the player that will make sense, the one my favorite player for Seattle will be Metcalf. To be honest with you, I don't know how much Geno I'm going to have. And one of the reasons why I don't know how much Geno I'm going to have is because I'm wondering what's going to happen with those 2 offensive linemen, those 2 tackles that got hurt in that game. And he was pressured, like 50%. I mean, he got really pressured. And this was against the Rams that they have no defense. Detroit's defense is
Charles Cross is out. Charles Cross is out, by the way.
Yeah. And anytime you get a 41-year-old Jason Peters at your tackle position, when Detroit got some dogs on that line, they're not, listen, anytime you pressure Mahomes, the way you pressure him, the Chiefs, and I know what they was about, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit on Geno. I agree. I think, but this is a perfect game for Detroit. The reason being, how did Detroit get most of their yards? They get it down the middle. They're down the middle. What that 16 of 22, 172 yards is what the Rams did last week. The Puka ate them up in the middle. What you got to remember, Goff had 233 yards and 50 or 20 last year. And remember, Brown wasn't there. Brown was not there. He was not part of that game. The stack that I like, that I think is very interesting. I think, you could play Laporta, which goes down the middle too, with St. Brown. You could play Montgomery. There are mass ways you can play. You could bring it back with Metcalf. there are a lot of things that you could play in this game. Because one thing that Detroit do struggle with receivers. So I do think that Metcalf is a play regardless. But that offensive line is making me feel a certain type of way, especially when Detroit playing at home, they're going to be revved up.
I think you're missing a couple of things. One, I like Lockett this week a lot. I like Lockett. I mean, this is one of those Lockett games. There's like 4 or 5 games a year that it just smells like a Lockett. This smells like a Lockett. The other thing I think you're missing is I don't know whether I'm playing Montgomery as part of a stack. I think I either play Goff, Laporta, St. Brown, or I play Montgomery. But I don't play both because it's like they're eating off each other, right? Montgomery's going to run one in, or Goff's going to throw it. But I don't think Goff.
If I'm playing Montgomery, I'm playing Montgomery and bringing him back with Metcalf. Well, I'll have a skinny stack. Right. Then I might do. Then I might, because Montgomery is not that expensive. So because I might have that Buffalo game as my main stack there. Then I bring it back, with a skinny stack over here. But this game definitely has interest for me. I like this game a lot. Like I said, the only thing that we got to look out for is if both offensive linemen are out, Geno's going to have a rougher time than he normally would have,
Look for Mr. Reynolds. Best value under 4,000 this week. Last year, he was a big part of this game. Last week, he was a big part of this. I see the face.
Yeah,
he had a touchdown last week. He had a touchdown last year in the same game.
I like
remember last year, Brown didn't play, but he's definitely in play.
All right, listen, Seattle has one of the things they have better than most people is they have 2 really good cornerbacks. Reek Woolen is good, and they've got this kid Witherspoon who's good, okay? They take away the outside of the field, and they push you in the inside. Reynolds is an outside receiver, and I think it's the inside, Laporta, St. Brown, that's where you feast in this game. Not on the outside. So I'm not saying that Reynolds is bad. I mean, I think he's going to be on the field. I just don't see him hitting the big number that I'm going to need to win.
But the reason he said that, Doc, and I know why he said it, because he played last week. They moved Reynolds around. He played 50% of his snaps inside the slot last week. So I'm just saying, sometimes they might, do little different things, to bring it in. So I understand what he's saying. And then also it's a GPP play because everybody will be on Brown. You know what I mean? So if you have a stack with Reynolds, you might do a little something. So
I'll give you my cheap guy later. All right, dude. I'll hook you up with my cheap.
And they gave up 334 yards passing with no receiver that you even drafted in a fantasy league this year, season long. 334. You ain't draft one of these guys.
All right, let's get to the 49ers against the Rams. Brock Purdy, you cannot mess around with this guy. He is legit. Christian McCaffrey is going to cost you a lot, but worth it. You've got Debo, who didn't score last week, who's always able to. Ayuk, who made some great plays. And let's not forget George Kittle, who is always there, who has scored a bunch of times against the Rams. So the question is this: can we play the 49ers? Because if this game is 40-7 at the end of the third quarter, you're not getting the play. We need the Rams to keep this game close, to keep McCaffrey and to keep all those guys on the field. Willie, what are you doing in this one?
Let me say this. I am interested in McCaffrey. I am interested in McCaffrey. I can say that. I might display him as one of, but the thing about it is, Purdy's an interesting guy. He's had in 7 of his 8 games, he's had multiple touchdown games. And in the last 8 games, they've averaged 32 points a game with Purdy at quarterback. I mean, that's very interesting. And I would think that if I had to go for receiver this week for San Francisco, it would be Debo. Debo has, 7 touchdowns in 7 games going against them, and he's the guy because everybody will be on Ayuk. Even though I just think, and what do the Rams play? Because Debo does better against the zone. Because see, last week Pittsburgh played a lot of man-to-man, and you can't do that with Ayuk. Ayuk will eat your behind up. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think, and I agree with you, I don't think the game is going to be as close. So I'm going to have some San Francisco. I might do but the guy that I'm more interested in to get me like 200 total yards to maybe a possible 2 or 3 touchdowns is a McCaffrey type of guy. That's who I'm mostly interested in this game. I don't think the Rams going to bring it back like they did. Look, they not get. Listen, this team right here, this defense right here, the Niners defense. Whew, man, they are here for business this week. So, as in that big stack thing, I'm not seeing a big stack thing in this game. Even though I understand where you're coming from, but I'm not seeing it.
Swami, what are you seeing in this game? Do you like Puka Nacua? Do you like anybody on the Rams? Do you like anybody in the 49ers?
As much as I would typically agree with y'all when I talk about pace and talk about production and what I'm expecting out of this game, except the 49ers have dominated the game like they did the last game, and somehow McCaffrey was still able to have 40 fantasy points or able to dominate the game. And either Ayuk, who had one game when Debo was out, and then when Debo played, Debo dominated them in every game, even with the scores being 24-9 and 31-14 respectively. So they've shown that, hey, we can kick you behind just like they did in Pittsburgh last week and still deliver fantasy goodness. They completely destroyed, smothered, dominated the 49ers, and they put up fantasy takedown tournament type goodness. And I think they can do it again. I think they've proven that they can do it even in blowouts. So with that being said, do I think the Rams, who I respect, can put up a fight? I think so. I think with Matthew Stafford back there, and even with the 2 backs that they're running, and the defense coming to bring it, it's a divisional game. I like what I saw with the receivers, the way they moving them around and using these route combinations to get them open. It's a poor man's Cooper Cup going on there right now. And guess what? Until it's not working, I'll go with it. Because remember, Pittsburgh was able to move the ball just something, and they weren't very good at all. So what I think the Rams could have, a drive or two, a possession or two, and if they can maybe get into the end zone and not have to settle for field goals, this game could even be interesting in the fourth quarter. So, Doc, I might have a little bit of interest in this.
Okay. All right, let me give you another game here, which I think is there's certain players in this game I like. The Giants played arguably the worst game anybody's ever seen last week against the Cowboys. I mean, it was an obliteration. But look, football, teams that smell one week smell like roses the next. Danny Dimes, Saquon, Waller, Willie's nodding his head. You got James Conner if you want to do a bring back here. It just feels to me, Willie, that the Giants will be overlooked. They're not going to suck. And we're going to look back and say Brian Daboll is a pretty good coach. Thoughts?
I love Barkley in this game. Barkley is one of my favorite backs on this slate that people they're going to look at last week. And understandably so. But man, you know what happened when you get embarrassed. They were completely embarrassed last week. Now, I think Waller's in play. I think even Daniel Jones could be in play in this game. I just think that this game right here, nobody's going to go to. I mean, I think Barkley is a very, very, very interesting running back. And I think Barkley could be one of those guys that can have a McCaffrey type game because he is the guy. You know what I mean? So he is the man. So, I think he could get the passes. I think he could run the ball. I think Barkley, especially at his price point, I think Barkley is a man of interest for me.
Do you run it back with Connor or Ertz, or do you not need a run back here?
I don't need a run back. Matter of fact, I think you could play the Giants defense with Barkley if you want to. You follow what I'm saying? I think those two are not a bad combination. I think the Giants got something. They just looked so bad last week, and it was rain. So I just think I love Barkley is one of my favorite players on the slate.
Swami, will you stack Daniel Jones? I mean, he's $6,000. Will you play him? Will you play Waller, who's $5,500? Or do you just say, look, it's Saquon, it's the Giants D, and I'm good?
150 lineups, I could see somebody playing that stack. I don't play 150 lineups, which means I wouldn't be playing that stack. Do I like Barkley, yes. Do I agree with Willie? Yes. I'm not quite sure if I agree with the defense, even though I think they'll play better. I think that Arizona doesn't, but I don't know if Dobbs is going to really go out there and turn the ball over. He seems like one of those veteran guys. He's not going to make the mistakes. He's just going to, do what he needs. He kind of come off like that, one of those kind of, where he's not going to look to take a bunch of chances. He's not trying to lose the game. He doesn't want. It's like he got a deal going with somebody that says, "Hey man, I'm only throwing it to guys 4 yards down the field. It's wide open. They're not gonna fire me because of throwing interceptions or pick sixes." But anyway, what I do think, Doc, I think that the Giants are gonna come out with a little bit of a chip, right? They got embarrassed. This is a good team. They got playoff expectations. They were at home, and I think they're gonna come out and for that reason try to maybe play their best football. I think Arizona will try to come out and at least, probably stay with them on the defensive side for a little bit. But I think eventually the dam going to break, and it's going to be, some fantasy goodness here somewhere. Just not enough for a full stack, but I'm not mad at it, though.
All right, I have one more game I want to talk about, unless you guys have others. I want to talk about the Bears against the Buccaneers. DJ Moore was on a milk carton. Justin Fields, who's taken down $1 million tournaments, didn't do anything. On the other side, you got Rachaad White, who had a bad week. You got Evans, you got Godwin. I think there are pieces here that if we put them together, Willie, we could be onto something. Do you like any pieces in this game?
I think Rachaad White, as bad as he looked against Minnesota, I think he's in play in this game. You saw that with, he's not Aaron Jones. Okay, let's not get this twisted. But this Bears defense is bad. Okay, they're horrible. And let me tell you something. I thought on the road, he struggled a little bit in the first half, but I tell you, the quarterback is scrappy for Tampa. He's a scrappy guy, and they don't cost a lot. You know what I mean? They're not too expensive. So I don't know about the run back for the Bears. I'm gonna be honest with you, because that's a full blown committee. Okay. That's a full blown committee with all three guys.
Do you like DJ Moore at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
Swame,
No.
JS doesn't want us to overlook Atlanta against Green Bay, so I won't. Is Bijan in play? I don't expect Aaron Jones to play. Do you like Jaden Reed? Do you like Luke Musgrave? Anybody in here that you like to make JS happy?
No. And let me tell you why. Green Bay's defense is better than what you think, and Atlanta's pretty scrappy at home as well, and neither quarterback is playing well enough. I think with Jones out, maybe they could get it going. I think if they did get Algier and Robinson involved, that means there's a lot of running of the football, and it's very, very little fantasy goodness at best. Take the kickers. And wait a minute, you can't play them in DFS, so you must be taking them in season long. It's a no. You got to remember that these type of games, it's going to come down to what punt returner doesn't fumble, what quarterback doesn't throw 3 picks, but it's definitely not going to be fantasy goodness. No.
All right. Did I miss any players that we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about Anthony Richardson and the Colts? Am I missing anything, Willie, in your stack of papers there?
I mean, Anthony Richardson, I still think is in play, as a quarterback, But I mean, this for some reason, this week I think it's going to be a weird week, man. I think it's, as much as we like certain teams, it's not nobody that I really love. You know what I mean? So, because you remember the person that won the Millie Maker or FanDuel, it was no correlation.
That was the craziest lineup I've ever seen.
Yeah, there was no. I'm not saying that's going to happen this week, but it was just I think having these preseason games, you're not playing preseason games like they are, with these two. I just think that the teams are suffering. The defenses, all the defenses right now are ahead of the offenses. You know what I mean? So, you gotta, but I see what you're talking about for the Atlanta game, but these are two slow teams. Jordan Love, I know he threw for 3 touchdowns, but damn it, he left a lot on that thing. He should have had Musgrove, if he would have threw a good ball, could have had a touchdown. I mean, I'm damn sure interested in the tight end for Green Bay. I think he's in play. He runs all the routes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He tripped to the 1 yard line last week.
Yeah. I mean, and he missed him in another one. So if he catches those balls, everybody's talking about Musgrove. You understand? So I just think Musgrove is a very, very interesting guy in this game, but I don't see this game as a stack. You know what I mean? Okay. Where I want to get it for stack. Because I don't trust paying all that money for Bijan and then this Algier dude, taking all the stuff.
I said that I told you guys this could happen last week. I mentioned that. I told you that Algier could get those touchdowns. All right, Swami, did I miss any game or any play that you love before we get to our $100 stacks and our secret guys?
Not anybody that I love, but it might be some interest, like you said, that Colts Texans. If Moss is going to be back there, he's probably he would be then a value play, right? If you would think he'd be able to get in there to do something. He had a good week 18 last year against Houston, if you could use that. If you don't want to throw that out, and you would expect that, hey, he could do something if he got there. He couldn't be any worse than what Deion Jackson was. I need to apologize to everybody for that. He was awful. And then on the other side, can Pierce get it going at his price against the Colts? So it's reason to believe that somebody could come out of one of these two backfields in this game, and then getting that value piece in there could make a lot of other things work.
I do like Dameon Pierce, and I'll say this. When the games are close, he gets more touches. When he gets more touches, he produces. When they're getting lit up, he's out of the game, and they're playing in Singletary and Boone. So if you think that game is going to be close like I do, I think Dameon Pierce gets 20 touches. So I will be playing him in some lineups. All right, Willie, $100. You throw it down in a single entry to pick a stack. What's this stack?
I think it's going to – I think I like the Buffalo game. Okay, I like the Buffalo game, but I'm gonna be different. I'm going, I think I like Gabe Davis as my guy, and I like running back with Jacobs. I love running back with Jacobs in this lineup, but I think Gabe Davis is going to be the guy that gets 2 touchdowns and 145 yards, and then everybody gonna say, and then Diggs gonna do his. He's gonna get his, but I just think Gabe Davis is going to be my man this week. That's going to bring it home.
All right, Swami, $100 bill coming your way. Who you using this stack?
Hey, Doc, if that bastard get 140, I'll eat this hat next week. Are you kidding me? How much? Let me calm down, Doc. Because you didn't.
You're gonna put some salt and pepper on that if it actually happens.
Awful. 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. We hope this goofball have 2 catches and 45 yards. Outrageous. Gabe Davis is now going to be the number 1 fantasy receiver. OMG.
All right, who's your stack?
I digress, Doc. You're right, Doc. Apologies to the people out there. I'm back. I was triggered by extreme insanity talking about. I get it. He likes this guy. But are you kidding me? The top fantasy week? Oh, my. I digress. Doc, I'm interested in the game that I told you, the Seattle Seahawks and Detroit Lions. I think they could shoot out again. I don't think that's really a surprise. So I feel like because it wasn't a surprise, let me give you enough. Because that's the one I like. Without question, give me Goff. I told you Mr. Reynolds would be in there for me because I want to have a big play kind of situation going on. You got the person working the short and intermediate. You got the big play guy. Now you can get fireworks if you put Mr. Ridley coming back. But Doc, you want a little bit more. You're a risk taker, Doc. That's what, Doc, you want something more risky. So let me give you something that I think.
Man, how many are you gonna have? Like 9? How many you doing?
I'm waiting for it already. Just give it to me.
I just gave my 1. No,
you gave 2.
I did not. Only gave 1. So now here's the
you gave 2 and some pluses and minuses.
No, I gave Detroit and Seattle, and I said Goff was my quarterback, and I gave the 2 receivers in the stack. That's all I did for my $100. But Doc's a risk taker, so I wanted to give him 1 more, and the one I'm going to give him is going to be Matthew Stafford with Poo and Atwell coming back with Debo. You're a risk taker, Doc. You
Dude, I'm not that kind of risk taker. I don't like lighting money on fire. Oh my God.
And you talk about my game. Are you kidding me? You talk about Gabe Davis and you gonna play him and two. I tell you what, 2-2 will be boo-boo this week. I'm tell you that right now because that San Francisco defense. And you talk, I know you ain't talking no trash about no stuff. You talking about the San Francisco against that San Francisco defense? Are you kidding me? No.
There's JS's risky stack right there. All right, that's his risky stack. Richardson, Lawson, Pierce. All right, I'm going to tell you I like the Bengals stack. I know that Willie doesn't, but I do. And if you want to give me a second stack, I'll tell you the Giants, Jones, Saquon, Waller. All right, balls to the walls call from Willie Walls. What you got, my friend? Who's your guy?
Hey, already put it on the line. Both of them. Gabe Davis. He went 2 for 34 yards, stunk it up. Gave 2 touchdowns, 140 yards. And when he scores that second one, he's going to be like Deion Sanders, having his head behind his head, saying, Swame, kiss my ass. That's what he's going to say. Gabe Davis.
All right, Swami says, who's your player of the week that's underrated?
I'm going with Reynolds. I've already told you Josh Reynolds is going to be my guy this week. I'm sticking with him. And I'm going to go as far as to say he's going to have a better week than Gabe Davis.
All right. My visionary play this week is Tank Dell. That's right. Tank Dell is going to be the slot receiver for the Texans. He's going to have 6 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. And you will look back and say, Doc, we should have had it.
6 for 6 and a touchdown. That's interesting because that's exactly what I got as quarterback throwing for. 60 yards.
And they're all going to Tank Dell.
That means he's getting it all. He can't.
Hey, listen, don't poo-poo Nico Collins, man. He had 80. Nico can play, man.
You're going to have to run that Texan stack with Dell and Nico Collins.
Remember, right. Colts play tough.
Colts do play tough. All right. Time now to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. For my YouTube celebrities, Willie Walls and the great Swami, this is Dr. Roto saying what? Be well and
take care.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.
Gabe